Hey, September 25th. Ben is leading us off today with his fancy hairdo again. I love it, man. We're competing to see who has longer hair in this COVID-19. No barbers. Whoa. Might want to shower once in a while. Might need my oil change in the car, man. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Me and Dr. James Choo are in the house. We're going to try to do more. We're back, so we're going to try to do more. And I think our segment is... do more, but not too much.
Not too much.
Right? So
this is what happens when you do too much more.
So we're not going to be COVID-19 today, and we don't have any celebrity athletes or CEOs. It's Dr. James Choo's in the house again. I love having Chewy, and we almost have our own show now because we're on the same level of what we're trying to do with health, wellness, and fitness. And we had a couple athletes in here last week that I gave some time off, and you were like, hey, where is this one gentleman? And I was like, I had to give him a couple days off from overtraining. So yeah. I think the topic today is overtraining versus undertraining equals do more, because you have all three. So they're going to kind of work in tow together of doing more. And those are usually the Saturday crews.
Yeah.
The doctors and the businessmen that fool themselves and think once a week or twice a week or even 3 times a week's enough. So we tell those guys to do more.
Yeah.
Then you have the undertraining, which it's a fine line between overtraining and undertraining because it's a mix that you have some professors, sports performance coaches, overtraining's better, undertraining's better. Me personally, I think I'd rather undertrain just a little than overtrain because there's a lot of consequences that come with overtraining.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never understood overtraining until I spent time with you, and you kind of broke it down for me years ago. So I didn't understand the consequences of what overtraining would do, and actually it can really mess up with your health if you're overdoing, as I understand it through you, Charlie. Because this is not a concept they teach in medicine per se. I mean, they do talk about some serious signs of muscle breakdown, which can be fatal. But that's just an extreme case of really, really, really overdoing when the muscle breaks down and it clogs up those molecules of muscle breakdown products start clogging up your kidneys, and you can have some serious consequences. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a medical emergency here. We're talking more about chronic overtraining. And so I don't know much about it like you do. So what are some of those signs that kind of let you know when you have a client in here? And it's usually those young bucks and young ladies that are really getting after it, and you have to pull back the reins a little bit, right?
Well, what's funny, Chewy, is, when we came up with the 6-part series of doing more, that's really not for most of, like you said, the athletes, the young bucks, they always want to do too much.
Right.
So then what happens in our society and on the Instagram sensation is the health and wellness influencers,
right,
that are going
totally unrealistic,
totally like break your body down, do the Cam Hans, the Cameron Haynes,
yeah,
that's his name, right?
Cameron Haynes,
and the Goggins of the world, they're extremists,
right?
But it's not about sports performance or hitting goals, because sometimes you have to hit goals with rest and nutrition and recovery. And
you're talking about like especially for those young high school collegiate athletes that are trying to hit their goals, trying to get to that next playing level or whatever you want to call it. That's kind of what you're talking about too. Like those are the ones that they may be under the impression that you got to do more and more and more and more to their detriment.
Yes. And before we go into the phys part of it, of the muscle breakdown and the mind and what happens, you have to also understand the coach to athlete ratio of being so pumped up, so enthused that you run into overtraining that athlete, which I did with Chad Pennington, one of our main guys in the wood gym from high school on, his senior year at Marshall, getting ready for the Clemson game. I overtrained him.
Oh, really?
And put him in the hospital.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So you get enthused. So you get a coach, now at 52, my steak is a little bit more seasoned. it tastes a little bit better with the right amount of salt on it to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. From even knowing the science behind it and the education I had of overtraining, you still get so pumped up because you feed off that athlete.
No kidding.
And
so was it one of those things where it was an issue of your experience? You two are just getting after it and trying to break down barriers and go, that you just didn't have the wisdom or the experience to say, oh, wait, this has been way too much.
Yes, and if I knew all the signs, which I did, it wasn't even a sign. It was so much enthusiasm that I almost put any of the education behind me.
Oh, you threw it away.
And I was with him on the floor going, we're taking Clemson down. Let's go. We're taking Clemson down. And it was just, the matter of dehydration where, HIV, you had to go to the hospital, queasy, that type of jazz. But it was still. And I would say then you get the pro level guy.
Did they beat Clemson?
Yes, they did.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
He won the game with 2 minutes left.
No kidding.
Yep,
oh, dude, that's great. So whatever happened, you're welcome. That was a hospitalization. Well deserved.
Yeah,
I guess so.
yeah. And then you get like a Mike McHenry, who's a professional baseball player, catcher. I would say he's the closest.
He's an animal
to the Patron guy if you want to take over a business. So with Michael, these are just stories I'm telling you. Then we could get into the science of it. But I actually had to lie to him and tell him I'm out of town for a day, so he wouldn't come in.
Because he's just so. The guy is so. Mike's the type of guy, if you've got to work out on, and it's hard enough for everyone else, but he'll throw on like a 25-pound weight vest just because he's Mike.
Yeah.
And his body will totally fall apart because he just didn't know how to stop, right?
And back in the day when I trained a guy like Mike McHenry, we would do our Olympic weights, we do our speed turf, we do our jumps, we do our mountain bike or trail runs, and it was usually all in one day.
Crazy.
Again, getting enthused with him. But that's when I knew a little bit more of like, okay, I got a guy that I'm going to feed off of. Yeah. Maybe too much, so I got to back it off.
Mike's intense, man. It's awesome. It's great when he's in.
And then you have a Harrison Smith with the safety, starting safety for the Vikings. He's not going to overtrain. He won't let that happen. He's a guy that's so even keel of understanding, where we came up with the term years ago with him, just enough.
Well, here's the thing though. That's way later in your career when you figured out. I don't think you'd be the same way if it was roles were reversed. You were starting out with a Harrison in your career, and you might have put Harrison in the hospital.
Yeah.
You think, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because
you were much more seasoned.
Exactly. Even in high school,
then.
I didn't get, and I knew I had a Harrison that was going to get after it and dominate high school football games and then go off to Notre Dame and dominate. I still wasn't where I was with Chad.
Right.
Chad was 94, 95?
Yeah. 93.
93. Yeah. So that's totally different. Then you see a Harrison, you're like, I know exactly how I'm going to work him.
Which you started with him in like 2005 or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah,
so that's, you're
much
looking
different.
at 15 years of understanding.
Yeah.
So you go into overtraining. So what people think is doing more, which we talk about, we don't want to get that confused with overtraining. But when you start seeing signs like I did with an athlete last week of irritability, constant muscle soreness right out of the gate of a workout, that's the number one thing you got to test is like, man, I'm sore in my production. I can't do what I did 2 weeks ago with the same weight. Oh. You look at that.
Can you tell when they just walk through the door?
You can.
Their energy level.
Yes.
How they
yes.
look,
A lack of motivation.
Yeah.
Dark eyes under circles under their eyes.
Yeah.
Irritability.
Yeah.
Body fat doesn't come down, but weight goes up. Lack of sleep. Interrupted sleep. So you think overtraining like, oh my gosh, I really beat it up, I'm going to sleep hard. It's the opposite.
When it's too much.
Loss of appetite. So it's the opposite of a good training session where you're like, oh, I can't wait to eat. They're usually not that way.
Wow.
Moody. I think those are the most easy recognizable signs to see in here. And performance.
They're numbers when they're in your performance.
Yes, right? yes.
Not as fast, not lifting as much.
And then I gave the kid 3 days off, and he came back and started hitting PRs and felt great and was enthused.
Wow.
Yeah. So the overtraining's huge to undertraining, and then doing more. But the beauty of the wood gym is you have everybody.
Yeah. You have a lot that you're trying to drag them in here because you just can't see them enough. And then you got our own Cam in here and Mike McHenry's who they can't shut it off and they just go.
So how do you keep your balance? Because, I don't know if everybody knows your routine, being a world-class mountain climber to what you do.
World-class, but
well, I mean, I've never met anybody that survived an avalanche at Mount Everest, but okay. What would you say, how do you balance that? Because, I got my oldest in here, Ashlyn, sitting in, listening to it. And we talk about 3 or 4 people that are pretty even keel with, their levels of energy, their consistency day in, day out. They're basically the same, mentally, physically, emotionally. How do you do that? Because let the people know that what you do before you come over here early in the morning.
Yeah, I think that's, you said the one word, and shout out to Ash. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Always elevating that.
I think you said the word consistency. I mean, that's all it is. It's, I have to have almost a daily dose of a routine. My wife and I are very, very routine people. So, and I think that's just how I was raised. So I get up, I go to do jujitsu with my man, Samuel Braga. Then I come over here probably 2-3 days a week, in addition to that. But I'm actually doing something 6 days a week, but at the age of 43, I'm not smart enough to know or just have done enough dumb things to know that I can't go balls to the wall every single session. I think too, I've been working out pretty much, for a long, long time, and with you for a long, long, long time as a kind of a guide to know where I am with my numbers. Because we, at some point in time, you and I have pushed my numbers to as high as what was reasonable for what I needed to do. And I've kind of mentally worked off of those numbers. So if I know that I'm not able to push as hard in here, and I'm feeling fatigued or tired, maybe I back off a little bit. I don't, even in jiu-jitsu, if I'm got an injury or something like that, I back down, but I don't ever not go. So that's another thing. I just modulate my my performance for the day. If I've got a couple days off, then I know that third day that I'm there. If I've traveled or something like that I go hard. So I'm able to modulate, and I think that's a lot of guidance, experience. But I think the key word to all of that is consistency, because you can wreck yourself in jiu-jitsu if you could twist up your joints and really hurt yourself. I've had injuries before, so I know that's not a sensible thing for me to do when I'm at 43 with 2 small kids and business and all that kind of stuff. So I'm always consistent though. I'm always trying to get my sleep and try to do all that, try to be consistent no matter what. But with that, you can modulate. Does that make sense? Like you can ratchet up. If I've had a couple light days, maybe I'll go harder here in the wood gym. If I've had, but I don't string together 4 or 5 hard days in a row because my body won't be able to handle that. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. And, we've had some of our best days training together, and where my strength level is to your strength level, you're pound for pound the strongest guy in the gym, period. Roy Jones Jr. over here, Floyd Money Mayweather sitting here, even though he's Korean, he's Floyd Money Mayweather. But when I train with Chewy, sometimes I'll just do his weights.
Yeah.
And it will still feel awesome.
Because
and
you're moving.
You're moving. You're having that flatline workout, which is a recovery workout, which is so beneficial. So it's not constantly, that's why training most of the time, to anybody out here listening or watching, training programs are most basic and easy to follow if you create it like a stair step. Boom, 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 boom. It can't always go up and it can't just always go flat.
Right.
So with the stair step, sometimes, stairs or steps, as we call it, when I train with you, it's a great workout, because that you can't always punish the muscle cell, to damage it and keep damaging it.
Yeah. And I never thought about that until you and I had worked out. And and Charlie it's not pound for pound. He's the guy with the strongest upper body I've ever seen in the gym. Especially, I mean, you turn back the clock 10 years ago. I mean, even your top athletes. I mean, and I'm talking about your offensive lineman, D lineman could not do what you were doing on the flat bench. There's no way. But so when I see him hucking 400 pounds, repping it out, on the flat bench, and then like he's got my Barbie bells, the next day working out with me, I'm like, what do you do? I mean, like, this is not any bang for the buck, but then you would tell me, hey, no, actually this is great, to do these lighter weights because I'm still moving. I'm getting oxygen into my blood, into my muscles and things like that. It's like, oh man, I never knew that as a principle. I would think you wouldn't even bother doing that type of stuff. But in reality, if you're not on testosterone or some other chemical enhancement, that's the only reasonable way of doing it, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in the audience.
Do you like it?
Audience question.
No, I
audience
like
participation.
I liked you wanted to be mic'd up because he asked, but I didn't want to push it. Is it 2 or 3? And I was like, just 2. But like, yeah, Ash is dying to get on and talk about her nutrition recovery.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I told you got to do. She bailed last Friday and not wanting to get on. She didn't think I believed in her. I was like, let's see, you got the gift of gab. I mean, hell, look at me.
What I was going to say is both of those at the core, it's the same feeling. So going into both of those different type of workouts, whether you're repping 400 or you're picking up 5 pounds, it's in you to get that same feeling out of each rep. You know what I mean? At the very core of it.
Well, it's like mountain biking with Dr. Steve Sterling. Mm-hmm. It's not the same as mountain biking with Freddie you, but it's a really feel good recovery day.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing is recovery is a must, and people think recovery is almost time off, but it could still be backing off. The only reason
like active recovery.
Yeah. Yes. But the only reason I did like the Cam Miller last week, those athletes don't know how they think it's a waste. Yeah. To come in and do 50% when they're usually trying to go at 104%. So you're better off just taking 2 or 3 days off.
For them. Mentally, they're
right.
Yeah.
But that's where the whole, this whole circle comes back around of doing more, especially at our age. We have to do more, but what does that more look like?
And do more and smarter.
And smart,
just in a smart way.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you're not synthetically enhanced, you need recovery, but everybody has to define what that recovery is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem. And that's what Louis Simmons in Westside Barbell, I studied under him in the 90s. He said, you're natural power lifters, you natural athletes. It's going to be different than guys that are synthetically enhanced because our recovery time is so much quicker. So we do need rest. And then we have to define what that rest is. And I think that's the issue for everybody, whether it's cryo, massages, contrasts, baths,
days off,
everything. So
food is food to recovery.
Food, we talked about that. Nutrition is huge recovery that most, I'd say, athletes get, but are they getting all the right stuff? Are they always getting the vegetables? You try to get vegetables and fruits every day. You have to, and
is that what a mantra for your athletes?
Oh, I think so. And everybody out there listening is Dr. James Choo comes up with a shake in the morning where he gets it all. So I could tell Ben probably doesn't like to eat his greens in the morning, but if you put it in a shake, tell him about your shake.
Yeah, I mean, so typically we try to get some greens in, usually with I mix up the greens, whether it's spinach and kale or Swiss chard or bok choy, whatever, but it's usually raw. I don't like chewing on those things. So what I do is just blend it up in a Vitamix, add your fruit into it. Sometimes I kind of pick what fruit looks good at the market or whatever. And then, you drink it. It's a lot. It's quick. It's fast. You force yourself to do it. And you've got your greens in. So,
and talking about the nutrition again, I guess we always bring it back to where we've been in a state for 7-8 months of the corona, the COVID-19.
Yeah.
The same thing that we talked about is Dr. James Choo really hasn't opened up his nutrition and his health habits and lifestyle, but it's pretty steady, as he says, the number one word, consistency. Then we talk about overtraining, where you become in a fatigue state, and then you have more access to pick up what? Germs, get sick. Not being able to fight something off, so that comes into a huge play of overtraining. Yeah. Because most of the time, now
overtraining
symptoms on your body are different than what you feel. Hair loss, which I've had before. I'll be shampooing back in the day of really training hard for meets, Olympic meets, whether powerlifting meets or Olympic meets. I'd pull out a handful of hair.
No kidding.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Swollen lymph nodes, in on your neck, under your armpits, a huge sign. Inside your groin are huge signs of overtraining.
Wow.
Yes. Chronic headaches, dizziness. There's some that show on the sheets that I'm going to give you to. I made these for you so you can have of nutrition, hydration, and all the signs. But I don't see them much with you because, like Ashlyn and I talk about, you're one of our top 3. Maybe top 2. I'd say top 2 balanced dudes. I'd say top 2. Yes?
I have a feeling. So I feel like it comes from balance with everything, because you really only see the super overtraining when somebody's not taking care of themselves on the other end of things. Well, also, you do see overtraining in a lot of different ways too, but it shows more if that person's not doing the hydration, the health, the self-care, the self-love, like all the stuff that comes.
Yeah.
Well, and we talk about means and measures, which we've had on all our shows, of body fat, weight reduction or weight gain, whatever you're trying to do. Because sometimes you can't gain weight when you're trying to gain weight because you're overtraining. But we talk about, like, the top 2 guys I would say in here, Ash, are Harrison and Chewy, are my most balanced guys. Okay, we have a world-class mountain biker, cyclist, Freddie Smith,
Beast,
who I've had on here.
Yeah, beast.
I think he's gotten better with not overtraining, but he is so competitive, so driven.
Yes, he is.
We got pictures on the wall of him. I don't know who I favor most, whether it's Freddie or Chewy, of so many pictures on the wall. I'm so proud of him.
Freddie's better looking.
And I've had these guys since high school, from Chad Pennington to Freddie Smith to Dr. James Choo, and now they're in their 40s. He could really overtrain because I've been on bike rides with him before, and years ago. Yeah, we would be on a tempo ride, and I'd really be dialed in of, like, this is the percent
he wants to kill you
go
on the ride.
We'll be out on a country road, and some guy will go flying by, and he looks like a dog chasing him.
Yeah,
because he can't. And it's a great competitive spirit, and I think he's gotten so much more dialed in with the recovery and getting blood work. I mean, he's taken it to the next level of where he is.
I will tell you this. I don't know anybody that has a better diet than Fred. I mean, that guy's, he's a master chef. I mean, he's
I was about to say he's a foodie,
cook.
So he knows, yes.
And it's not like, let's make throw some hot dogs on the grill. The guys, I think this past weekend he was on a hike and picked up these mushrooms on the side that you knew were edible, and, like, toss them in, like, whatever, skillet, and served them up. I mean, he's that type of guy. And I mean, as far as someone who can eke out every inch of talent, and, like, he's a chemist in there, like, dialing in the food and this, there's nobody that does it like Fred. But I will say, he can't turn it off, right? I mean, that is as far as the rest and recovery, I mean, like, and if you're like, Fred, let's have an enjoyable ride. And if someone did pass him, he'd want to run him over.
And he puts it all together, though.
It's amazing.
I mean, even more than some of my pro athletes that are
amazing.
Much more talented than Freddie is, he pulls it all out. And that's what everybody's mind boggled when he wins these races. Oh, he's just different. He's an Indian. He's got Indian blood. They don't know.
He's meticulous.
The time he even puts in the wood gym.
Meticulous.
3 to 4 days. He works with people in Chicago. He works with people that are on the Tour de France.
Yeah.
and they come back and say your power's better. So Freddie's not the type of guy that's just going to come into the wood gym and train with me just to be nice.
No.
Because we know Freddie has a mean, bad side to him that you don't want to step on and cross over. He's in here because he knows it benefits him out on the road or in the woods.
Yeah. I don't think there's anyone that has done more with that, putting that type of effort into squeezing out everything that you possibly can with the food and all that. I don't think there is.
And when he comes in sometimes on a Monday, I can see that he is tired. And that's the beauty of having a on-site trainer to like the online coaching and all the programs is completely different because you could see the signs, black under his eyes. So I know he's not going to leave because mentally he needs this. So I just back off a workout. And that's why, I'm known for making my workouts daily for each individual. It's not, flavor of the day and everybody's getting the same sandwich. So I make different ones every day. And I always ask how the athlete feels. Mm-hmm. Now with Freddie, he's 43 now.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's going to be different than the 18 to 20 year. I feel great. And you don't know what they did the night before. So you're like, okay, then you put them through something. Then they go into overtraining. Mm-hmm. Now our Saturday group, our Do More group, they're not going to overtrain.
They're over-recovered.
Our next segment should be undertraining. Ashlyn's going to help us with that. We're going to do research on undertraining. And, that's just telling yourself that I'm good.
Yeah.
I approached one of the doctors in here. I'm not going to say names, Dr. Steve Sterling, eye surgeon here. I said, what is wrong with you clowns wanting to be average?
Yeah.
He texts back, it's easier.
Hey, you got to love it.
Fair enough, Steven. Fair enough. But here's our Do More group. When we were into the height of those 6 parts, and I'm looking over at Ben, if people are just listening, not watching, Ben's been a part of all these, that 6-part Do More. That's when we really bit into everybody, and Sterling went from 207. He started with me at 223, 207, hung for about a year. We started doing the Do More, getting everybody's ass and doing more. He got down to 184 to 186. I'd say great. With the COVID thing, it scared people. Remember, out a couple months, this and that. Now he's crept back up to the 193, 194. Well, now he's coming in on a Saturday and a Sunday. But again, guys, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, including me, 2 days out of how many days in a week? 7? It's not enough.
Right.
And that's the doing more. So those guys, you keep loading. You're not going to overtrain. Let's go. Back to back. Everybody's like, oh, back-to-back days? Yeah, back-to-back days.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a whole, there's a big gap between a guy like Fred, Fred is kind of like a Mike McHenry, very, very similar as far as their temperament. When it comes to working out, it's hard to shut them down. But then, like, you have the other side of the spectrum, where it's just like, it's a workout to pull them in to do more. So it's a different business model that you have. You got to juggle all of that.
It's frustrating, and if you lived with me and Ashlyn sees it, Dad, you're always on your phone. You're always on your phone. I'm really reaching out to those guys, and I'm challenging them. I'm challenging the Marlows, the Sterlings, the Chips, the Justin Sims.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 38 years old.
Yeah,
comes in once a week.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah,
I'm calling him out. Like if you're 38 like that now, what are you going to be at 48? Let's go. Let's get in here. Work a deal with me, Sims. Let's get in here, because that's the thing is when people settle, that's what I can't understand. And I think that's the whole grind, the 5 a.m. thing. I have to be up at, I can't settle. And that's the people like you. That's the people like Freddie that want to be the best. And I think that's the beauty of the wood gym is everybody, we try to make it like Rocky 3. I did it years ago, Ben, the Eye of the Tiger. Watch Rocky 3. He gets beat. Apollo takes him back to his old place down in the dungeon in the basement. And he stopped and he goes, look at everybody. And everybody, he goes, you lost the eye of the tiger. And that's what I try to keep here. Besides Saturday mornings, that's for the do less group. So, I think we'll wrap it up with the overtraining. I think the overtraining's huge. I think that's a huge topic that nowadays, and we talked about that on one of our podcasts, the health influencers that are the David Goggins and the guys that are running 26 miles a day. And
unrealistic.
We're not here to break the body down. That's a whole mental suffering that they like to do. And I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I do some mountain bikes around here on a single speed, and it's not fun. It's 44 to 55 minutes. And everybody's like, why do you do that? Because I like suffering.
Yeah.
You know, that's a different deal of that's what I'd like to do. I like to be miserable for 50 minutes, but I feel great after that. So I get those pages. I get those guys scheme how they're wired, because Goggins will say, I'm not here to motivate you. This is just what I do.
Yeah, right.
You know, like it's not the health and wellness, you know, broken toes, shins, bleeding, rush to hospital. We're trying to stay out of that at health professionals.
Right. So if to close, since you're the overtraining guru and performance guru here, top 5 tips for those who have the tendency to overtrain.
Sleep.
Number 1.
Yes, that's your biggest recovery, and we talked about that on the show. So
8 hours.
That's beautiful. Yeah, easy. Get your sleep, uninterrupted sleep. Reduce your alcohol. Nutrition. If you're not smoking, don't smoke. Okay, let's not smoke. And if you're doing your alcohol, do it 3 hours before bed, and 2 to 3 hours before your last meal. And I would say that those are your best things. And just wake up, and if you're really sore, rest. And if you're not, come in and get something going. And then and I've had people, we've tried it, and they'll leave. Hey, it's not today. Let's go home. You know, so we don't get injured, so we don't regress the progression of performance. So that's where it gets iffy, because your ego talks to you. So if you're not with a professional, which surround yourself around a professional that's been in the game and knows the science behind it, is, hey, back off, or let me modify a program. I've done a lot of modifications. Hey, I'm out here already. Okay.
2 sets rather than 4.
Right. Let's get some blood flow, and let's get oxygen repairs muscle tissue. So let's keep it 15 to 12 reps on everything, and just let it be that, and then recover and get some good food.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad we did this one. I was excited about this, of the overtraining one, because it's so big right now, because everybody's on. You could go, Ash knows, she's my Instagram person now that she's back in town. You could look at the post of everybody just grinding. And I understand the grind, but there has to be a science behind it, or it's not worth it.
Nice. I love it. This is great.
I love it.
Good information. Love having you on the show, Ash.
Ben, thanks for coming.
Ben?
You're always solid. Appreciate it. You are the man. Yeah, that's luckily Chewy got out of his jiu-jitsu class, so if he didn't see you, he's going to tie you up like a pretzel. All right, Wang, I love you, man. Thanks for doing it. It's awesome. And you're going to pick our next topic, which should be fun, what it's going to be. I like this.
Yeah, great.
Happy Friday, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.